Hello everyone. So after making the last video, I hit a wall. I really needed to figure out how to get my bamboo to spawn to the beat of a music track. This would be the foundation that holds my entire game together, so I really wanted to make sure I got it right. There were three main problems I had to solve while designing this, and the solution to each had to work with the solutions of the others. The first problem was deciding how to split up the different background music tracks. I knew I wanted the music to speed up every 32 beats up to a certain max speed, but I wasn't sure if I should separate each 32 beat segment into its own file or keep it all as one large track. The second problem was figuring out how to let the player see all the bamboo on the screen at once. The issue was once the bamboo started spawning really close together towards the end of a level, the bamboo in front sort of obscured the view of the bamboo coming up behind it, so I needed to come up with a different path for the bamboo to take towards the camera so that the player could prime themselves for the upcoming bamboo. The third problem was figuring out how to spawn the bamboo to the beat of music that hasn't started playing yet. You see, if the music was sped up over time, the bamboo would have to start spawning closer and closer together to keep in time with the music. The problem was that the bamboo would need to be spawned before the faster music was playing, because the player would need to see which bamboo was coming up next to chop. So I started by trying to solve the music problem. I figured if I could get the music figured out, I could just build the other stuff on top of that. So there were pros and cons to having one long track versus a bunch of split up tracks. The pros of one long track were that the transitions between different segments of the song would be much easier to handle. Also, if I make any changes to the overall song, like changing one of the instruments it uses, it will be much easier to apply it to one segment than to like 8. And finally, dealing with less files in general is just much easier. The con is that once the player reaches the max speed cap for a level, the music will have to start looping at that speed, which means I'll have to create separate clips that consist of just that loop. Then if the max speed cap for that level is somewhere in the middle of the main track, it might be hard to make clean transitions from the main track to that loop. The pro of cutting up the track is that I have the option of skipping over certain speeds in the middle to speed up the level faster. So for example, I might want to make the easier levels speed up twice as fast so the player doesn't have to wait like 2 minutes for the level to start getting hard each time they play it. The cons are that I'm not even sure my pro is something I'll end up implementing, and the transitions between the different segments will be tricky to handle. After thinking about it for a bit, I decided I would split up the track. I figured that if I was going to have to come up with a mechanism to transition from the middle of the long track to the track that loops, and have to figure out how to format the smaller track sections for those end loops anyway, I might as well just use all shorter tracks. That way I wouldn't have to create the mechanism to control the timing for the long track at all. So I went into FL Studio and made some very basic placeholder music. I didn't care about it sounding good, I just wanted it all to be the right length so I could start working on the timing. To figure out the BPM for each track, I just had to divide 60 seconds per minute by the amount of seconds I was going to wait between spawning each bamboo set in the level. After that, I created a function in Unity that would assign a track to an audio source, then assign the upcoming track to another audio source, and then switch that audio source when the first track reached its end. That got the music part taken care of. Next, I had to solve my other two problems at the same time, because the path the bamboo would take would depend upon the mechanism that would spawn the bamboo at the right time. So I'll start by explaining the new bamboo path. The main goal was to create something that would allow the player to see which bamboo is coming up next to chop. First I was thinking bamboo could come from the sky and fall towards the camera as it got closer. Starting the bamboo off screen would solve a problem I currently had where there was no logical reason why the bamboo was spawning in the middle of the air. On the other hand, I didn't think it would look very good. In order to spawn outside of the screen, it would have to spawn pretty close to the camera, leaving a lot of empty space in the background, or it would have to spawn far away but move really fast to get to the screen in a reasonable amount of time. After that, I thought I could use this bamboo as an opportunity to create some extra movement to the beat of the music on the screen, because my goal is to eventually have a lot of things moving to the beat of the music so the background itself basically becomes a metronome. My first idea was to move all the bamboo up or down on every beat until it fell in the middle for its final beat. I was pretty close to actually coding this up until I realized it would look really weird when the beat sped up, because you would have bamboo in the back moving to a faster beat than the one that was currently playing, so everything would be slightly off. The solution I ended up sticking with was to slowly move all the bamboo upwards, then move it down to the middle of the screen on the final beat before it hit the camera. This got rid of the problem from the last idea while still adding some movement to the background. To get this bamboo path to work, I had to solve my third problem and come up with a way of keeping track of which bamboo was supposed to be moving to which beat. My original idea was to dynamically shrink the distance between the different bamboo right when the beat started to speed up. So I would spawn all the bamboo at the default distance from each other, and then right when the beat changes, I would move all the bamboo on screen closer together and start spawning the bamboo at that new distance. I didn't go with this mostly because I thought it would look weird, but also there would be a lot of moving pieces that could break. Instead, I came up with a system that would spawn the bamboo already at the appropriate distance from the katanas, but then just move it vertically down to the middle of the screen right on the beat before it reached the katanas. To do this, I just created an array for the left and right side that would keep track of bamboo as they were spawned, and then when bamboo would reach the collider to be chopped, it would call a listener to the piece of bamboo to before it in the array. That listener would then calculate when the next beat was going to happen and prepare to move the bamboo down on that beat. After all that, I finally have something that mostly works. The background music seamlessly transitions from one track to the next. The visibility of upcoming bamboo allows me to play the levels at a much faster tempo now, and all the timing feels pretty precise. I still have a +1 error somewhere causing the very first tempo shift to mess things up, but I'm sure that won't be too hard to figure out. I've started working on getting this new time system integrated with the tutorial levels. Some of the objects are taking a bit more finessing than others, but getting pretty close to having all those work. I've also come up with some programmable UI buttons that will show controls for cutting different objects in the tutorial screens. Once I finish these tutorials, I can finally start letting people test my game, which will be pretty cool. But until then, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.